Hello, Honors Chemistry, and welcome to your syllabus. Right? This is not thrilling. These are the class basics. Not a thrilling discussion, but basic things that we need to get through to make sure we are all on the same page as we start this year. Right? Now, obviously, this one is huge. Right? In that some of this will change. Right? A lot of this will change. Hopefully, a whole lot of this will change. Or, better said, hopefully the year will evolve in such a way that all of this syllabus will apply to our scenario. But anyway, yes, you should have your syllabus out, and obviously it is your responsibility to read the document in its entirety, though I am just going to highlight some of the key things. So anyway, here is my email. Here are my help times. I list these at the top because it is quite likely that at some point during the course of the year, you are going to have some questions. So you need to know when to come and ask those questions. And to have questions is a good thing, right? It means that one, you are thinking and processing what we're talking about. You're doing your homework. And that you're being appropriately challenged, right? Those are all good things. So when you have questions, please don't sit around and wait for forever, right? Come see me as soon as possible. All right. Course materials. So this first one is a little bit new and different, right? And it's applicable as long as we are in this weird schedule, right? In that you will need a capacitive stylus, where a capacitive stylus is one of those old school ones that work by conductivity, the ones with the little rubber tips, or they make fancier versions that don't have little rubber tips if you want to be all fancy, but it just needs to be a stylus, right? You do need headphones with a mic, okay? Whatever you have is fine. You don't need to go buy like a gaming rig setup, right? You just need any pair of headphones that's got a mic on it. And you need a touchscreen device, right? So hopefully we do have iPad carts, and hopefully I will be able to have those for class sessions where we need them. But in the event that I am not, you just need a touchscreen device, right? If you guys happen to have old tablets laying around your house, that is fantastic because it doesn't need to be new. It just needs to be a touchscreen device that can run Jamboard, which is a Google app, and Google is really good about making sure their stuff is back compatible. Or if none of that applies to you, you are more than welcome to use your phone, right? Your phone will work just fine, okay? I've tried it this summer. It works just fine. It takes a little bit of practice, yes, but it will get the job done, right? So those are the weird things that you need for this year, okay? Other than that, you need your book, which I feel like is a given. If you don't have that already and you don't have and you're not sure when you're going to get it, you need to see me ASAP, okay? Calculator, any type will suffice. So if you have one of those little basic function calculators and you just want to shove that in like the pocket of your binder, right, that will suffice to make sure you always have it on you. You'll need a binder, and I do recommend a binder. Typically, though, we will get like outlines and chapter handouts and all these things, and so I would recommend that you would have print copies of those chronologically organized in your notebook, right? And you'll find that an organized binder is super helpful when it gets to be exam review time, because that's all you're going to need to study. You're not going to need to go back to your book. You're not going to need anything else. Everything you need will be in that binder. These last things are variable because as it stands, since we are all supposed to be apart from one another and you guys are never all on campus at the same time, the ability to do labs is severely diminished, okay? So I don't know. As far as it stands right now, I do not think we'll be doing hands-on normal lab activities, right? They will be amended in some way. But hopefully, like I said, that will evolve and we will get back to this discussion later. All right, so what will you learn in chemistry? Clearly, we'll learn some chemistry. Like it says, qualitatively, it means matter and the changes matter undergoes, right? Again, from a micro and macro perspective, right, that part's important, right, because connecting those two things is a lot of what we're doing, because that goes back into the whole, like, analytical thinking skills that we are building this year, right? Dimensional analysis also, that's the quantitative aspect of chemistry, where, like the term implies, right, we are analyzing dimensions, where dimensions are really just units, right? So we are just taking the numbers, like numerical math, like you've been doing since, like, 8th grade or 7th grade algebra, and now we're just layering on some units and learning how to use that as part of our math, right? As part of our thinking. And really, what's going to happen here, right? So even if you're like, ugh, I don't really care for science, ugh, I don't plan to pursue science in the future, I promise you, this class will do you a world of good, right? Because you're going to come away, one, knowing how to learn better, right? You'll come away knowing how to use your resources to learn something in a meaningful way. That's what I hope, right? In addition, right, super emphasis on analytical thinking skills, right? Not just did you memorize A, B, and C, right? But can you take A, B, and C and rearrange them? Can you use them in a different scenario? Can you extrapolate how A, B, and C relate to some of these other things we're going to talk about, like X, Y, Z, right? Later down the line. So anyway, you should be a more confident problem solver by the end of the year, and that is something you're going to take with you for every other class, right? So, that's my 2 cents on why chemistry is amazing. Learning chemistry, right? So basically the gist of this is that you can't pass a Spanish 3 if you have forgotten Spanish 2 and Spanish 1, right? Okay, let me read. Perhaps you could pass, but you would not do very well, right? Same thing with chemistry. If you were going to rely strictly on last-minute cramming and memorization, you might pass chemistry, but you will not do well, right? Does that make sense? In order to do well, right, it's got to sink in, and it's got to have meaning to you so that you can apply it, all right? And brains, right, how brains work, right, is that you have to learn something in a small enough chunk, or it's got to be a small enough chunk, and then you've got to be exposed to it over and over again. You've got to practice applying it. You've got to practice quizzing yourself on it, right? And then you've got to practice applying it in different scenarios, right? And then you've got to keep using it so you don't forget it, right? And then what's supposed to happen is that gets tucked so firmly into your memory that your brain no longer needs to think about using it anymore, and so then it can layer on new chunks of information, right? Which means that the smaller the chunks and the more regularly the chunks are practiced, right, the better your learning will be, right? So please just try to keep that in mind. So anyway, this class is designed so you get multiple exposures to every new topic. You're going to read, you're going to watch lectures, you're going to come to class and practice, you're going to do some more practice on your own, you're going to do prep for quizzes, right? You're going to do labs and reviews, labs however they may appear for now, right? But the point is you will practice, right? You will be exposed to everything a million times, right, if you do what I ask you to do before we get to an actual graded assessment, okay? And then the subsequent chapters will use those skills. Chemistry is cumulative, right? It is, in that respect, it is unlike most of your previous classes where it is absolutely cumulative. What we're going to learn in this very first unit, you will use every single unit for the rest of the school year, right? No joke. So keep that in mind, okay? So tips for how to be successful in such a class. 1, prepare for class. And that means daily work, right? Like checking PowerSchool daily, right? Doing your homework, right? Taking note of questions, right? And starting the review packet the moment I post it. So please just be thoughtful about trying to do that, okay? Super important. Review daily, and you might be like, really? But the thing is that we're taking, this is honors chemistry, right? That's what you signed up for. And so you should bank on 30 minutes to an hour of homework on a daily basis, right? Which means that if you finished your work in class, right, it doesn't mean you have no homework. It just means you should spend a few minutes reviewing that night instead of maybe, sitting for an hour and reading, right? Chemistry, that is. So just please be more conscientious about that, right? Because that's going to help those things stick in your long-term memory and become something you can use by habit, okay? And then this last one, right, see me for help the moment you realize you don't understand, right? This is not one of those classes where you can not understand something when we introduce it, and then as we keep practicing, you're like, maybe I'll get it later. And then you fail a quiz, and you're like, it's all right. It's still another 2 weeks before the test. And then next thing you know, it's like 2 or 3 days before the test. You've not done any of the practice because you don't know how to do it, and you're staring down the test in 2 days, and you're like, oh, geez, I should go get some help. It's too late then, right? It's too late. So just be thoughtful about that. All right. Finally, not finally, evaluations, right? So we have tests, quiz, labs, and homeworks, right? Which are divided this way. And so generally we go by units. Every unit is approximately 2 chapters, right? The course is cumulative. So that's just how it is, right? We will have at least 1 quiz per chapter, and we'll have at least 1 lab per unit. Note that labs are based on lots of things. So let's say, For a given lab, you are asked to write your own procedure, and it turns out your procedure is decidedly lackluster, your results are lackluster, and you did not meet the goal of the experiment, right? That's fine, right? That doesn't count against you at all, unless it's a safety infraction, in which case it will give you a 0. But what matters is that, can you answer the post-lab questions? Can you tell me what you did wrong and why that led to your lackluster results, right? That's the key thing, right? Is, can you explain what you did wrong and why it had the impact that it did? That's what matters in chemistry. Okay, all right. Next up, and the last thing here, homework, right? I do not accept late homework. I check it spontaneously whenever it suits me, and it's either complete or not, right? You either did your homework or you did not. Everything must be filled in for it to get a 100, right? And then you might be like, well, what if we just started and I don't know how to do it? Well, guess what? In your lecture videos, I work through all the introductory problems. Oh my gosh. Which means that if you do your whole homework, there's no reason for you not to have everything worked out, right? Okay. Late work policy. These things are never accepted late. And you'll lose 10% per day on anything else that I do accept. Okay. Absences in general, super duper important that you come to class, right? If you habitually miss class, you're habitually missing exposures, which means that you are impeding your own learning, right? Obviously, though, we are in a weird scenario, and if you have been exposed and need to stay home for 2 weeks, right? You need to stay home, right? That's what matters. Or you wake up in the morning and it turns out you have a fever, right? Please don't just come to school, right? Follow the rules. Please abide by the safety checks that we've put into place, right? And just stay home, okay? We will make it work, right? Even if you have to be home for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, especially if it goes around your family or something weird, right? We'll make it work and it will be okay, okay? So just, take a deep breath and we're just gonna roll with it. Note here, right? Please don't come to me at the end of the quarter with some sad story about how you are so very close to your grade, because odds are I probably don't agree, okay? And I give extra credit all year. There is bonus scattered, sprinkled throughout the entire quarter, right? I've never had it happen where somebody has taken advantage of every single opportunity and ended up with something lackluster as their grade, right? So just be conscientious about that. Device, like I already talked about, right? Touchscreen device, stylus, headphones, laptop every single day, and chargers as needed if you are one that, tends to forget to charge stuff the night before. Or like in this year where we might just be using a lot more tech during the school day, you might just need to make sure you have chargers tucked in your locker as needed, okay? Honorable expectations. So everything written here applies unless I literally say otherwise, right? Tests, quizzes, and exams should be completed independently. Homework and review packets can be completed in small groups. And by small groups, I mean like 2, 3, maybe 4 people, right? Each member should have a record of the work, okay? Pre-lab and post-labs may be completed with your lab partner or group. I will assign those, and that's who you can work with, right? Note that in both of these scenarios, right, there is no such thing in all of chemistry. There is no such thing as divide and conquer as an approach, as an acceptable approach to your classwork, right? It is always going to be everybody contributes to every problem, right? That's where the learning happens. If you do happen to have a tutor, please note that your tutor can help you with things that are not graded, all right? If something's going to be a graded assessment, they may not help you with that. If you are trying to figure out what is okay, right, come see me, right, and I can help you pull together a list of things, right, if this applies to you. And here's our general outline. I do anticipate we'll still stick to this general outline for the school year. The types of activities we'll throw in will obviously vary depending on our situation. All right. Thank you for listening. Be good, and I look forward to a fantastic year. All right. Bye.